This is like a ministry and they're the congregation. We give the message, but everything else that happens between them is way, way beyond us.
Welcome to the Signal Room. I'm Jemma Brown, General Manager of the Signal Awards. There is a big difference between maintaining an audience and building a community. In my opinion, an audience listens, whereas a community belongs. Both of these are words that are tossed around a lot, yet we know the difference when we feel it. And so today on the show, we're going to get into the mechanics of building a community, both from a tactical perspective, but also emotionally. How do you support the people who listen to your podcast in a way that makes them feel like they're part of something larger than themselves? And we have three folks joining us today in the Signal Room who have created invested, profound communities around their shows. We have Patrick Hines. He's the host of True Crime Obsessed. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you.
And we have Deontay Kyle, host of Grits and Eggs podcast. How's it going?
I'm chilling. Everything's good. We had a long night last night. We had a live show in Birmingham, so I just got back at like 3 a.m.
Oh, what's your skincare routine?
Cold water and genetics.
I love it. We got Sarah Stewart Holland and Beth Silvers, the co-hosts of Pantsuit Politics. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
The very first question I want to ask is about the ingredients that go into creating an active community, the special sauce, let's call it. What would you put in the pot?
I would say that for Pantsuit Politics, from the very beginning, we have not just had a one-way flow of information. We have been in conversation with our listeners since the very beginning. We encouraged them to email us. We read every email. We responded. That was 10 years ago. And so at this point, you know, many of our listeners are my friends. I text with them. I travel with them. We hang out in person. Yeah, very close friends. So I tell them, like, yes, it's a parasocial relationship, sort of, but like, you know who I am. Like, I share a lot of information about my life and my thoughts and, you know, everything that's going on in my head on the show. So like, they really know me and Beth pretty well. And we make every effort to get to know them. I mean, we have in live person events that are not just like live shows, like we really hang out and we have more expansive, you know, events surrounding the live shows. We have, you know, our listeners send us Christmas cards. We get like 350 Christmas cards every year. So we can see their kids and we know who's getting married. And we just recently commemorated a listener who died tragically of cancer that the whole community knew. So like this is a relationship. It's not just, we're not just content they consume. This is a relationship that we have with so many of them.
What I'm hearing is like no silver bullets, read every email. Patrick, your take?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to us. I mean, I always tell new creators that like audiences and communities are built like one listener at a time. And so, we've been making True Crime Obsessed for a little over 9 years as well. We were maybe 6 months in when we actually had listeners who started our Facebook group. That kind of never occurred to us. And so listeners started it. We, when it became appropriate, we sort of took it over and with their permission. And now we have like 60,000 members in our Facebook group because we're a true crime podcast. And, those communities can get very opinionated and we keep our community spaces very safe. So we have a full-time, like literally on salary admin who manages our Facebook group, who moderates our Discord server. We read all of our emails. We respond to everything. Also the same with our live shows when we tour. We will stay after and meet anybody who wants to say hi. And we've had instances where like this sort of hangout after is longer than the show itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think probably all of us can relate to the idea that like podcasting is such an intimate medium. People really feel like they know you. And so people want to come and tell you about how the podcast got them through a hard or scary time. And it's just engagement. It really is organic, authentic engagement and really sort of caring about the audience.
It's almost like you're a politician.
Yeah.
running for
Yeah.
mayor. Deontay, I need an ingredient here.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you
I really
deliver?
I can't really deviate anything like from different from what they're saying because all of these things are just like that's exactly what it is. Like I treat these people like they my family. I actually
Mm,
call like my listeners my cousins.
cousins, yeah.
So, like, when we do our Discord or there's people that'll come to the live shows by themselves because they know, like, somebody from the Discord is in here or somebody from the Patreon is in here. So, like, I'm not really gonna be alone. I may have gotten here by myself, but I'm amongst all my people. And, like, even last night, we stayed after probably an hour. Like, there's people in there with their grandparents, there's people in there with their daughters and sons, and it's like a very, like, intergenerational thing, and I think that like we have a lot of disabled people that come out to our shows because they know it's like an all inclusive things. We don't do ableism, we don't do transphobia, we don't do homophobia. So like everybody can come to this space and feel like safe, and they'll feel
Mm,
like they're seen. And like I don't just stay on stage the whole time. I walk out in the crowd. I take selfies. I take drinks with people. I don't. It's like a thing of like what would I want if I showed up to a show? Like if I paid my money, as much as I adore this person, I would want to feel like I can touch them as well. I don't want to feel like this thing where it's like, don't touch me. Like I'm just here to get my check and do my show and get on to the next city. It's like, I guess the ingredients would be, there has to be like a glue, like a flower, like a something that holds it all together. And I think, it's the host's job, it's the creator's job to create that connectivity, like what Sarah said about answering every email. Like there was a time when I first started, there's not a comment that would be made. Even if it was an emoji, I would emoji back. I mean, it just didn't matter because I cared that much that they were listening to me. And I wanted them to feel seen when they were, commenting or taking the effort to acknowledge me. So I think a big part of it is like this selflessness. Like
mm,
if you get to the point where it's more about people listening to you speak than the people who actually are willing to listen, then it's like you probably done lost an ingredient along the way where you just make it more about yourself. I don't want to be deified. I want these people to understand that I'm like literally just like them. And I come from a working class family. I come from blue collar work just a year ago, and we all in the same boat. We all kind of having the same experience here in this country, and I want us to be unified in that.
Deontay, you just got a new cousin. I cannot wait to follow your podcast, become part of your community.
I was gonna say when you commented and said it was like a politician, I would say that it's closer to a minister. Like, we had a listener
mm,
recently say, "Pantsuit Politics is my church," and that brings people together in a really, tight-knit way, and so, I mean, I think that's kinda the longer we've done this, the longer we've sort of seen it as that model. This is like a ministry, and they're the congregation, and
mm.
we give the message, but everything else that happens between them, is way, way beyond us.
And I think the average person feels so disconnected from a politician right now that, like,
Mhm.
you know, my grandmother's pastor showed up and like officiated her funeral for free. Same thing he did with my mom. Like, I don't have to think about whether these people are going to show up. You know what I
Mm.
Yeah.
mean? Like, but I know, like, just to liken it to the politician, I know I'll see you every 2 to 4 years, but I don't know where you're gonna go after that. So it's like, yeah, I think the church, especially being Southern, I think just the church analogy, it really hits home for me. And it's like, I could be the pastor, but I can also be a deacon. I can also be a part of the congregation, and I'll sing in the choir with you too. It's like I'll be here for everything.
You're only going to make a podcast about something you're really passionate about. So when you make a podcast about your passion, you're going to attract people who are also passionate about that thing. Like, for example, we make a true crime podcast. And so many people are really passionate about the cases. They're passionate about the victims. They're passionate about like, advocacy. And so much of that is the conversation. You're meeting these people who have theories, or they want to share resources, or like everybody else is saying, they want to sort of like meet up and find community, before the show, and then during the show, and then after the show. So I think it's podcasts are passion projects, and so you're going to draw that kind of people, and then you give them a place to also find each other. And that's like a really powerful thing.
I want to pull Beth into the conversation here. What you're describing, what each of you is describing, is a very invested relationship, a lot of energy, a lot of time, FaceTime, like real FaceTime with people. How do you keep your battery up? How do you share so much of yourself and then go back to hit record week after week?
Well, I think that consistency is maybe one of the ingredients that you were looking for in how to build a community, because part of the promise that the community builds around is, for us, whatever is happening in the world, we're going to show up in your feed on Tuesday and Friday and talk about it. And anything else, like we have no idea what we're going to be talking about, because who knows what happens between Tuesday and Friday, but we will be there with you. And so that is level one. And that's discipline for you as a creator too. Okay, I have to show up, whether I feel like it or not, in the feed Tuesday and Friday. And so what I do in between recording time needs to be additive to that process. And I think that that's part of the community building too. We read all those emails. We used to respond in long, heartfelt ways to every single one of them. We can't do that anymore, but listeners do hear their feedback reflected in the show. We'll note, this is what we're hearing from you. So they know, even if they're not personally hearing from us every time now, they still influence our thinking. They still influence what we're doing. And so I think, I was thinking about that sense of, they leave an emoji, I leave an emoji. Like, you have to begin that way. And you can't sustain that way because it will totally wipe your batteries, but you can continue to show people that they are building with you.
Yeah, you'll drive yourself crazy at this point, right? But I think the most important thing outside of even consistency is just maintaining like that same level of like engagement, that same level of excitement that you started out with. Because like once you stop caring about it and you're just doing it out of what you feel is obligation, you might as well just hang it up, because
Oh,
it becomes
man.
very apparent. I've seen podcasts where it's like they're just showing up and phoning it in.
Yeah, and I think too that like the podcasters who are really successful in building community are the ones who really love it. Like I worked service industry jobs for 20 years before I started making podcasts, sort of as a hobby. And then when I started making this true crime podcast, and it kind of took off after like about 6 months, I suddenly became that person I wake up at 4 a.m. every day.
You're that guy.
I'm that guy, and I didn't used to be. It happened when I started making this podcast that I like love so much. I like
Wait,
even
what do you
9.
do at 4 in the morning?
Oh, I mean, there's so much to be done. Our podcast, we recap true crime documentaries, and so there's all those to watch and take notes. There's also, we're giving feedback on episodes. Now we've transitioned to video, so now there's dealing with all the video elements. There's, responding to socials. There's all the emails we keep talking about. Like there's just so much to do all the time, and I can't wait to get to it. Like
Mm.
the refilling the battery, since I really found this thing that I love to do, that has been the easiest part for me.
Wow.
I'm never not excited to sit down and do it.
If you're making a podcast, you know recording is just one part of the production process. There's editing, there's hosting, clips, analytics, distribution, and suddenly you are juggling 5 different tools just to ship off one episode. And that is why we are making this show in Wistia. It's not just a recording tool, it is an all-in-one video platform. I'm recording, I'm editing. Well, my editor, Alex, is editing. Thank you, Alex. Plus hosting, publishing, and pulling performance data all in one place. So if you don't want to stitch together a tech stack, Wistia will streamline your process and you can focus on making something great. Learn more at wistia.com/signalroom, wistia.com/signalroom.
Patrick, I want to stick with you because I had a question actually about the Facebook group, which you mentioned. It's huge. It's this thriving community. And I'm curious how you balance kind of this aspect of control and letting go. Like
Yeah.
if there's this whole ecosystem and there's people that are hosting meetup groups, it's its own living organism. How do you care about making it exactly your vision, or do you just let it kind of thrive?
It's actually neither. It's really
Great.
not. I will only say that because it's always important for me to tell people that it is highly, highly moderated. So our mission is to keep our Facebook group, which is like the main place where our listeners find each other, a very safe space. So we have I don't want to say they're strict rules, but they're very well thought out rules. We have this moderator who, like I was saying, it's their full-time job. They are like the most amazing person. They care so deeply about the listeners. But they make sure that the rules are followed, and that's the thing. We've let the Facebook group become what the listeners want it to be, but within the bounds of keeping it like a safe, healthy, and productive place for people to go. We want it to be the thing that you do on your lunch break. We want it to be the place that if you move to a new city and you're like, I just moved to Wichita and I don't know anybody, and 14 people will comment and be like, we have bingo every Thursday. Come, and it's been a learning curve. But it's very, very important to us to to make sure that it's like a safe, healthy place for people to go.
Speaking of building a community that is what the listeners want, has anyone here made a very tangible adjustment to their show, whether the editorial or how it exists, because of feedback from the community? And could you share an example?
I think we're always trying to ride the audience's energy. Like, news fatigue is very real. And so we try to sense when that news fatigue is present and we need to do a more cultural episode. Our last
Mhm.
segment is always outside of politics because we know after diving into the news, it's good to kind of take an exhale. And so there are moments when we lean more into that, or less into it, depending on what else is going on. But we're always kind of paying attention to where are the comments? What does the email look like right now? How much capacity do people have for a foreign policy episode?
Mm.
Or do they need to hear us just kind of riff on ice cream flavors or something for a larger percentage of the episode than we typically would?
I got a question for y'all two specifically. If news fatigue, if you know it's real for like your audience, how real is that for y'all?
I tell people that the promise of our show is real and I'm the proof. Like, the promise of Pantsuit Politics is that you can pay attention without being burned out or anxious. And, you know, we're proof of that. I do nothing but read and follow the news. But the fact that I get to take all that stuff and information and stories and stress and sit down with Beth twice a week and like kind of talk it out helps. It keeps me from feeling frustrated and burned out. Now we have a pretty robust leave at Pantsuit Politics. We take 2 weeks off at Christmas. We take a week for spring break, and we take an entire month off in the summer. And our audience encourages us to because they need breaks too. But I think the like processing together is really what keeps me from feeling burned out and overwhelmed and all that.
We have a really robust sense of what news and politics means. And so we don't chase headlines. We don't feel compelled to talk about what everybody else is talking about. If we need more time to be able to say something intelligent about a story, we'll tell people, hey, as we're recording, this is breaking. We're going to come back to it next week when we have the facts. Or if we're just exhausted with something, we'll say, hey, we're worn out with this. We bet you are too. Today, we're going to dive into this topic instead. So we try to
Mm.
remind ourselves all the time. This is the beauty of being an independent podcaster. Nobody's the boss of us. Let's
Yeah,
sit
for
down and
sure.
do what we need and trust that that will be what the audience needs too.
Well, and I think the real key to that is the podcasting of it all. We're not Instagram influencers. We're not TikTok news people. We don't live at the behest of the YouTube algorithm. So we don't have to create content that's conflict ridden and that engages people's emotion and gets them all hyped up in order to get in front of people. That's just not how we've ever functioned. We might be much bigger podcast if we did, but we weren't interested in being that kind of, conflict-ridden, polarizing content, like, "You're not welcome here if, you've ever voted for the
Yeah,
other team," kinda stuff. So, I
yeah,
think that helps a lot too.
You bring up an interesting point about these platforms. Like, each of you are beholden, whether it's Discord, whether it's TikTok, Substack, Facebook. Do you ever have that moment of existential dread? Like, oh, my community exists on this platform, yet I don't own this platform.
I mean, we don't. We have so many ways of reaching our listeners. The Facebook group has been around, and like since really like, before TikTok was even a thing. But we also like, if Facebook were to die tomorrow, we have, on our Patreon, we have like over 50,000 subscribers, and we have all of their, email addresses, and like, there unfortunately isn't really another way. So, as far as that goes, it kind of just is what it is. But yeah, we don't really worry about it.
Permission to not worry about it?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
I think we have to think about like what the overall goal of these people is to keep us there and to keep people engaged and keep people attention on their platforms. So whether if you wanted to bring it down to agree or disagree, if it's getting engagement on their platform, they're more than happy for us to be there. To Patrick's point, we do have a Discord, we do have a Patreon where I know I can go directly to reach people. And those are the most important people, the people that pay a monthly subscription. Those are the people that are dedicating their dollars to it more than just their time and attention. So I think, we'll always have a way to get in contact with the people we need to,
For us, the Substack transition was a good one because we started to own more of our information and have more direct access to our people. Fundamentally, I think what I worry about less than being beholden to the platform in terms of that existential feeling is making sure that the platform works for us, not that we work for the platform. Because you can really easily get yourself in a loop of like, I'm just serving this machine because I want its algorithm to display my stuff. And we have to take a step back often and say, is that doing us any good though? Or, is that where our attention is best directed? It is easy to find yourself in new business lines if you are just trying to adapt to whatever TikTok or Instagram is wanting from you this week.
It's like, here's the thing. I'm doing something, it's working. If y'all want to roll out a new feature and that means I take a dip for maybe 3 weeks until y'all find out nobody cares about that feature, then I'm willing to take the dip because the core audience is going to be there regardless. I think the beauty of social media is that every post is an opportunity to reach a new member, reach a new listener. I did about 11 episodes audio only when I first started out. I blew up on TikTok before I started a podcast, so I did not understand how to promote audio only. So I think for me, and I'm still figuring out podcasting, and I was like, I have
We
to
all
get to
are.
visual. You know what I mean?
The imposter syndrome runs really deep. I talk to people who've been in this game for years and years, decade plus, and they say the same thing.
Yeah, it's like as soon as I feel like, oh man, I got this under control, like I'm confident, I'm here, and then you wake up in the morning, it's like, yo, what have I done with my life, bro? You know what I mean? Like how did I get all these people? This is like, it's such a growing and blooming community, but like I think that there's a big responsibility on us to keep those wheels turning.
Question for Sarah and Beth. What do you hope your community members are getting from being part of this community as separate from listening to the show or watching the show?
I mean, I think just connection with each other. I just want them to have authentic interactions and relationships. I think often we articulate something that they're trying to figure out. I think they feel more energetic and empowered to engage in their communities. And so, we've heard everything from I'm running for office because of you. I voted for the first time because of you. I'm talking to my family again because of you. So,
Oh, these are
any
incredible.
and everything for sure.
And maybe just last question to round things out for Deontay and Patrick. What has your community given to you?
I mean, everything from socks to mugs to stickers. No, our community, I mean, it is, I always say that like I feel so grateful to get to do this. And during the pandemic and like the first 4 years of Trump, we got a lot like, you're getting me through this, that we're only surviving. And I would always say back to people, if I didn't have this podcast to make, I would die. Like I feel that strongly about it. And without your ears listening, I wouldn't get to do this. So just the act of listening and making it so that we get to do this every week. And this is our job. I take such pride, even though I still have to say, when people ask me what I do for a living, I say I'm a podcaster. I swear it's a real job. I still have to say it. But I take such pride in being a podcaster. I'm so grateful to get to do it. So, what they give to us is just their ears and their hearts and their continued support.
So like body parts.
Body parts. It is a true crime podcast after all.
That would be hilarious, bro.
Keep
I
your
found this
fingers, everybody. I don't
found
want
this
them.
random finger, man. I wanna,
Exactly.
do it.
Exactly.
I think the part of the live show is like this fan art and stuff that like they give me, like those things are like material things, but like honestly, I feel like I have such a sense of purpose.
Mm.
Like it's one of the most incredible things to like, to feel like this thing that may not seem like a job to most people. It feels like so purposeful and like life's work at times where, like these comments of people like, this is bringing me and my girlfriend closer. This is like me and my wife watch this now and like we have stuff to talk about at dinner. And me and my dad never connected on politics until we started watching a show together. And like these things that are like becoming moments for people inside of their homes. Like the best thing for me is like when YouTube will send me a notification, it's like 40% of the people watching this are watching this on TVs.
Mm.
This is not just something they're just rolling around listening to like in the back and as background noise. This is something that people are congregating around. And I take on not only the responsibility, but I take on the purpose like seriously. And I think the 3 shows here and including this show that we're on, um, these are people. We're all people that are putting forth a lot of intention towards what we put out to our audiences, and I think to receive it back is probably one of the most gratifying things.
Well, thank you all for bringing so much fullness to this conversation, so much of your battery life, and for making me realize how much of a two-way street this work is. I talk to podcasters all the time, but I've never quite engaged in this corner of the conversation, and I can just hear how acutely from each of you your community gives to you and isn't just taking. So thank you for sharing all of that. So grateful to have each of you on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.